Okay, maybe too early. Maybe next time you need to think about to organize this kind of event in the evening or midnight. Usually that's the time the young people will stay up, right? Well, my job is supposed to give you a welcome speech. Basically, I'm a speechless. I don't know what to say. But we always welcome you back to campus. Okay, especially, it's nice now I can recognize some of the faces. I talked to you before, and it's such a pleasure, to see you here. And I also recognize some faces. Actually, I'm teaching this time, so it's good. They are learning ERP now, so they come and for this event. Now, I think when I come here, I don't expect, I'll be in a teaching mode anyway. I'm not here to teach. But in fact, we have two practitioners here. I think definitely today, actually, I can learn something. If I can learn something, I'm pretty sure you can learn something as well, right? So, before we get the keynote speaker, like Jonathan Lee or King Wang and come and talk about, their specialties, I would like to ask you, what you really expect the technology will touch on our life, let's say in the next few years. Okay, so keep that in mind. If technology has changed us so much in the last few years, especially when I remember when I was in college, that was like 30 years ago, and I start to learn how to use word processor. I begin to use Excel, not Excel at that time. They don't even have Excel. They have Notice. But before Notice 1, 2, 3, actually, I use another spreadsheet program. They are so primitive, but to me, that was something already. I mean, because I never thought I can type anything anyway using typewriter. So finally, I got a word processor. It's wonderful. And I used to use all these, programmable calculator. So they will help me to add all the rows and columns, find all the totals, And I was so excited when I have a spreadsheet, will help me automate these kind of things. But that was like 30 years ago. When the computer, we are still using a monocolor, one color screen, right? And the display and only come up with 80 columns. I don't know, you really appreciate what you've got right now. It's wonderful. Technology is wonderful. And we also can see, all these things has accelerated in the last few years. So what do you expect in the next, let's say 5 or 10 years? Especially when we talk about ERP today, it's something about the workplace, about our productivity. How could we really enable the workers to do more with less? How could ERP play a role like this? I don't think that today, I hope, I can find out as well. But you think about, the technology for the next 5 or 10 years, how would that change the way we work? Do you have any idea? How would technology change the way we work in the next 5 or 10 years? Given what we already know from the last, 10 or 20 years. And we know everything accelerates, right? I mean, back then, we take many years before we see something new. But just imagine, when Apple came out with the iPhone, Samsung came up with a lot of, smartphones right away. And in the process, everyone changed the way we work. Do you have any idea? No idea? Maybe let me try to show you a little bit, okay? Let's have a glimpse of the future. If this is the way technology will help us in the workplace. Now, of course, I can't make up a lot of things, so I just pull out some video. There's a lot of video like this. This one's about Productivity Future Vision 2011. That means it's already 2 years old, this video. And then we have some, talking about, what happened, in 2020, 2050, but I don't think I can live that long to see that. So I'm more interested in, what happened in the next 5 or 10 years. I think this is a pretty good one, okay? And if I remember right, it was produced by Microsoft, I guess. I saw that about 2 years ago, so maybe I'll show it to you again, okay? And I hope, from that short video, we'll kind of raise our expectation on what ERP can do for us in the future.
Johannesburg International Airport. Please approach the road to create your pickup zone.
So once again, we welcome you. Maybe just to say, welcome you to the future. Maybe the future is already here. Okay? I'll just let you know when we say, maybe computer is dead, because when people say computer is dead because they couldn't find computer everywhere now. But it turns out computer actually is everywhere. So maybe 10 years later, we can say ERP is dead. But in a sense, ERP will be everywhere. So we don't even need to worry about the term ERP anymore because it's just everywhere. So I'm very excited about today the two panel presenters. I think they are going to give us a lot of insights about the ERP. So I'm going to turn the mic back to the MC. Okay? So welcome.
Thank you, Professor Lau, for this wonderful speech. And let's look at today's agenda. And please switch off your mobile phone if you have now. Turn it to silent mode. Okay. Now this is today's agenda. And we are going to have our first keynote speech. Creating value and beyond ERP. How does it work? And it's my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, Mr. Jonathan Lee, to all of us. Mr. Lee is a Master Principal Consultant at Oracle. In this position, he is looking after enterprise accounts and strategic programs in the Asia-Pacific regions. With over 23 years experience in IT industry for various sectors, he has extensive experience in managing enterprise solutions, intensively include enterprise resource planning, ERP, supply chain management, customer relationship management, supply chain planning, product development, assets life cycle management, and technologies platform for enterprise integration, SOA, and business process management. Okay, now let's give a warm welcome to our speaker, Mr. Lee, with his keynote speech, Creating Value and Beyond ERP. How does it work?
Good morning, everyone. Looks very excited to have this morning to see all of you. And today I'm going to share with you a little bit thing regarding the ERP. I will spend 45 minutes regarding what is the trend and what is ERP based on the fundamental concept, and what is the impacting technology in the ERP, just like Professor Lau saying that what is the future of the ERP is look like, and how does it impact we call the information worker in the future. So finally, I will conclude with a case study. Right? All right. So the topic is creating a value and beyond ERP. How does it work? Okay. I think we have met many different customers. They try to do something within the enterprise. And I think one very key thing is how to creating values. We are not going to create a project for ERP for ERP. It doesn't mean anything to an organization in terms of the operational efficiency and strategy. But we need to think based on the value creation perspective. I think it's very important because most of the organization. And the second is what does it mean beyond ERP? I think ERP is quite a traditional word. Terminology, and more than I think 20 or 30 years, and how do we beyond something, because the solution is evolving because of the industry, because of the user who is going to use it. So that is beyond ERP. And actually, how does it work? Again, we are not going to implement an ERP for ERP. we really have some business objective behind the scene. That's why, how does it work, okay? So today agenda, I'm going to cover three main topics. One is the evolution of the ERP, and the second is what is outside in value chain focus. And we will talk about how do we prioritize based on the business objective, and what normally we do to the customer based on that perspective. And the second part I will talk a little bit about just selectively a couple of the technology. Of course, not as advanced as one professor now show you all this very fancy UI. But actually, this is something very similar. We're talking about mobile to mobile technology, big data, and also a kind of the mobile solution within the ERP application. All right, the last one we'll share a little bit idea what our customer normally taking the implementation strategy when we taking a ERP solution. So what is the approach and what is the consideration? And finally, I will conclude with a case study. And I will take a very large organization in Hong Kong being the case study. All right. So let's get started with the ERP evolution. I think this is a diagram from the internet, but it's a very basic and very quite a normal path for the ERP. I think starting from 20 or something years ago, it's basically an accounting software, and later on it will be designed for a production environment. So that's why we have MRP, MRP2. Do you know, anyone know about MRP and MRP2? What's the difference? Anyone know that? No? All right. So 2 means it's a version number 2.
They should know.
They should know? Right.
They should know.
Oh,
I
okay.
taught them before.
Okay. All right, I leave the question later on. And as time goes by, the solution expand and extend a little bit more, and what we call the ERP is an enterprise perspective. It's not only focusing on the production. And finally, what we call the extended ERP. So that is the path. But fundamentally, what the management trying to achieve is based on some practice, business standard and principle, like the accounting standard, management accounting. From the production side will be the quality management, Six Sigma. I think you have this terminology a lot, right? And finally, in the newer terminology, it's called the value chain management as well. I'm not sure whether you heard about the collaborative planning, model, something like that. It will be a very new value chain management concept for the value chain on the sales and operation or processing, something like that. Okay, so that is the underlying principle. And each area, they have a different focus. For example, accounting focus, production resources focus, capital focus. What does the capital mean? You buy very big machine, right? You invest a lot on the building. It's a kind of the enterprise resources. And finally, is how do we leverage the disruptive technology on the ERP? I think that is the trend that's going on, right? All right, so a ERP, there is a building block. As you said that, you can see every organization, they have a very core application, like retail. They will have their retail system, right? Manufacturing, high-tech engineering, manufacturing company, they will have their core MES system. However, they still have the back office solution we call ERP, including basically the financial supply chain production and HRMS. This is a kind of what we call the resources. However, this is a back office. But as time goes by, they're trying to do something more. What are they? They are the CRM, what we call the front office application. So you can see in the market many ERP vendors like Oracle, SAP, Microsoft. In the past, they are separate systems. But now they're trying to integrate all this CRM and ERP all together. Later on, I will explain a little bit more why they're trying to do something like this. Moreover, there will be a kind of the other side of the front office, what we call SRM, supplier relationship management. It's very important to impacting all your cost and also your product development, as well as your spend. That's why there's a two part of the front office application, like the SRM or CRM. And And what I mentioned is the VCP. VCP is a kind of the value chain plan, is a part of the value chain management concept. So how do we further enhance the whole business processes across or within even beyond the organization? That's what we call the VC management or the VCP management. Right. I think you can take a look on some terminology within each process, right? Although the CRM, you can see some very traditional capability like the call center services for marketing. But as times go by, customer is getting more demanding. And what we're talking about is called the customer experience. And you can see what the video from Professor Lau, right? Many things will try to please your customer and create a very excited experience with the customer. That's why you can see some new technology we introduce in the CRM, like the CX means the short term from Oracle perspective is the customer experience, and how the way you inspire the customer to use your information to create a business, that is the CX. And the social engagement, I think most of them will Facebook, right? And also Twitter or LinkedIn, whatever, is a social community or networking user. And how do we leverage that kind of technology to further extend the CRM? It's a kind of the new technology we employ and deploy in our solution as well. And another thing is knowledge. Knowledge is a very new stuff, but the topic can be very broad and also very focuses. Just like how do we accumulate the knowledge from the customer and also the internal in order to create a new product and the services to your customer. That is the knowledge management as well. So I think that is a very new technology as well, introducing in the CRM side. For the SRM, I don't think we have enough time to go one by one, but actually you can read the term based on some business process, how do we get a better SRM management in order to protect the quality of the product and shorten the product to market life cycle. That is the key message from the SRM. All right, so we have the basic building block, but what if we are trying to provide a solution to different industries like aerospace, engineering, construction, media and entertainment, natural resources, all these sub-industry. So there will be, we take a different approach. We will have a vertical application to integrate it to the ERP platform. As a result, the different industry, they have their own very specific requirement, like education and research, like UST campus solution, right? You're using our PureSoft campus solution. However, it will be integrated part of the financial system as well. So I think these are quite very typical example for giving you an idea. Beyond the ERP, there will be some vertical solution or capability that can be integrated back to the ERP system to streamline the whole process, like the procure to pay, plan to execution, budget to spend, all these things. All right, so let's take a look on the value creation, because what we call we're focusing on the value creation. I think in a traditional way, what the organization is doing, like a manufacturing company, typical example, right? They were focusing on the operation, how much material, what is our software, what is our material planning, what is our distribution planning, all these things are operation. However, they also focusing on the inbound and outbound part, like how do you receiving the goods, what is the coming schedule, and what is our warehouse management. All these things is just like traditional focus. But nowadays, I think is what we are talking about, because you're getting more and more partners, like your business partner, like supplier, like your customer. You may have a different channel of a customer over the web, over different country, different web office, different channel. From the supply side, you may have a different supplier sourcing from the more cost-effective country, more cost-effective location to deploy your business. That's why you can imagine the central parts of the supply chain or the organization is getting more complicated, what we call the multi-layer supply chain. All right. So under that scenario, you can imagine as an enterprise, they need to manage very dynamically when something changes to impact the whole value chain there. And the convergency of the chain. How do we better to manage the convergency of the chain, to consolidate all the information, to leveraging the scale of the economy, to buy a better discount, all these things, right? What we talking about the convergency. And the last one we call the multiple enterprise orchestration. That means how do we work together with each other. So basically there's a three areas we need to focus. One is the design chain. Design chain is what we're talking about, product to market cycle. And the second is supply chain. Very typical, right? You purchase something from the supplier and up to your warehouse. And another is a demand chain. Demand chain is a most hot topic of today because in the past, I think most of the MRP2 or ERP, they're using a push model. What does it mean push model is I produce something, I launch the market, someone you get it to my product, you like it or not, I don't care, right? So there's a push model. But the demand pull model is more like a pull model. Pull model, I will basically, based on the understanding of the customer need and the market changes, I will fine-tune my product. And that's why you will be introduce a new chain like the demand chain, all the way start from the product side and also from the demand side. So that is the three main chain cycle. So when you look at the maturity model for most of the organization, I think ERP just do the best job to make the organization to achieve the level 2, like the profit excellence, right? Internal focus, intra-enterprise within the subsidiary, they do a very good job so that the information is very effective. Everyone work happily, right? But as I said, that the business environment is getting more dynamic because of the globalization of the organization, right? Globalization, I think is a very typical terminology of today. And partnership, partner collaboration, value, constellation, and also the full network connectivity is very important. Maybe a little bit wait for you to interpret what is the full network connectivity, right? And you can imagine when you have two warehouses in China, maybe you have two production plant in Malaysia. You also rent some cases for your logistics, for transportation. And how do you optimize all the network based on data side, location information, and also your resources side? All right, so that is what we call the full network connectivity optimization there. So based on that perspective, I think every organization they can achieve and also to evaluate themselves what is our next step we need to move on. Although I'm already implementing ERP system, but what is our next step? So they can basically to tap on this kind of strategy and direction to look into the business processes about. All right, so based on the value chain transaction, you can see it's a value chain centric. Value chain means you can see that from sales and operational planning, order to cash, procure to pay, budget to spend. Did you heard this terminology before? I think you heard about that, right? And how do we optimize that and creating a value to the organization? All right. So you can see there are different process, functional or department name there. And basically you can see there's some demand related process, supply related process, and also the product related process from R&D, also the ramp up and mass production, right? So the key of the success is how do you to align all these processes within the value chain, and how do you have the overall visibility regarding all these processes altogether to optimize your resources. I think that is what we are talking about, the value chain within the ERP and creating value to the organization. And in order to do that, you need to have a lot of different elements of that, like the standardization, your planning model, your management model, your standardization of business process, all these things should be ready, all right? So there's two typical value chain focus, what we call outside in. What does it mean outside in? In the past we looked at inside organization, now we're looking at the network. It's a bigger okay. and what is called the outside connecting each other to do the business. As I said, that's the maturity model, right? So that is the operation model to help you to manage the demand side and also the product side. Like for the value chain planning, you may have the, starting from the demand management, trade promotion, supply chain distribution, event-driven simulation, planning EEMAA, focus on scheduling, TOP, global order promising, especially you're doing some business over the internet, right? And that is all these things with what we call align, predict, and adapt. Okay, it's very important, starting from your end to your order processing. So this is the value chain planning. Another side, what we talk about is the product portfolio and project management. It's really from the product hub. You have a single view of your product information, and you need to manage your product data, like the engineering data, CAD/CAM data, product requirement, idea management. We're talking about the knowledge management and design management. Collaboration with your supplier, maybe you subcontract out all your manufacturing process, right? All the costing, and also the governance and compliance, especially for some food and beverage industry, is very important for pharmaceutical, especially for the governance and compliance and engineering collaboration. All these things is what we call a value chain cycle for the product side. All right, so behind the scene, there is a set of the deal solution that can be extended within the ERP system. Could be an additional or extended ERP component there. So when you look at the industry side, right? If you can, there's a very rough, assessment or survey by Gartner or EEMAA benchmark that showing that if you can do a very good job between these three value chain cycle, and you can see there's a very concrete business value to translate into your business perspective. I give you a very typical example from some customer. For example, if you're doing retail business, from the shop demand and your forecasting is very important. And how can you do a very good demand planning and forecasting so that you're impacting all your forecasting cycle and the lead time management and also your availability of the material is very important. If once you have some dead stock in the inventory or even in your store, it will impact your profit margin. Right? It's very typical example. So why they need to extend this, what we call a demand cycle, and also altogether the overlapping the supply and also the product side. That is the core meaning to translate into a business terminology, like 2 to 3 times better become an asset. Actually, you rent a lot of a warehouse to stock to store your inventory. All these things will be there. You can see the impact of this terminology. All right, so far I think you understand what we call creating value. Why do we need to consider outside in? Because the globalization and all that business environment. Okay, come down to the earth. When you have a project, your boss will asking you, okay, will be asking you that if I want to have a ERP or solution, whatever to solve my business problem, how do we start? Okay, so I think you need to analyzing the bubble. What kind of objective you want to achieve? Some organizations where we have a different customer, they are very aggressive growth strategy. So that's why, for example, in the next 3 years, they will open 2,000 shops in different locations. That's what we call the expansion strategy, right? They may have achieved some, operational efficiency in terms of the supply management or, the sales cycle. But some organizations will take side on the, compliance and governance. Like some public organization, compliances, risk management is more important than the cost and all this expansion. So it really depends which priority of the business angle to look at. Then you can do some what we call a discovery map. Have you heard about that? Okay. Discovery map is a sample. I just did it last night. Okay, it's basically a very typical example. Like each organization, they might have some business problem, like inaccuracy forecast, multiple process or overlapping system, multiple systems, we don't have a consistent view on the inventory or even on the costing information. Right? This is a very typical technical pain, what we call a technical pain. But how does it, or how do this pain translate into a consequential pain, like impacting our sales return? It will lead to a lot of sales return if your forecasting is inaccurate, very logical, right? And ad hoc material costs because you don't have an accurate forecast, or long periods for financial costs. All these things is what we call the consequential pain. When you understand the root cause behind the technical pain, then you can create some solution, what we call a solution. For example, multiple channel sale to push the water or share the service center. A very typical model for ERP, I'm not sure whether you heard about share the service center, is the organization trying to put all the common business process into a center to support different business unit or line of business, like the financial, like the reporting. This is called what we call the SSC service. All right, that is the solution. But what is the KPI we try to measure based on the solution, like 20% growth of the the sales or the margin up, or the 10 years reopening fee for operation side in different areas. So that is the business objective. And ultimately our goal is trying to achieve something. All right. So what I'm trying to tell you is you can basically use a discovery map to help you to identify which solution is more appropriate and what kind of KPI you need to put into that project, and what kind of business problem is impacting the organization, and what is the root cause analysis there. All right, so this is what we call discovery map. It will be something like a very traditional wishbone diagram, but this is a more commercial side. We will use that part. Again, it's not only one part. You can create, several discovery map for different area, like the sales, like the product. After we have this kind of the discovery idea, we better understand what is the objective and business case of the ERP solution. Shall we start with a planning solution? Shall we start with a warehouse solution? Or all these things we can decide, and then we put the priority for all of our project. Then we can, to prioritize all these things and put it in the implementation one by one. Okay, so far we talk about the trend and how does the business look into the ERP solution and how do we select them. And these are some brief ideas to give you some quick idea of that. And what is the new technologies impacting the ERP? As I said that I tried to pick a few, but not over all of that. Assume we already have a very good ERP solution. We can manage our internal process very well. We have a single view of our data. I understand I have a very good report to look at my customer record, supplier record, or invoice everything. However, if information worker, when we talk about information worker, they are more intelligent to use the information to achieve their business objective. They will try they spend a lot of time, to run different report to solve their business problem. Maybe they need to combine different, screen, or to get the KPI, to get the, outstanding invoice report, and talk to the collection manager, and finally to get the thing done. And there are still many things they need to do, even they already implemented ERP. Right? So all these things is very typical example. It's a daily life of the customer of today. What is the best way? What we can do? If there is a system can help us, to spend less time to find the information or identify some useful information. We have the information, but it's not useful at all. Or how can we improve, the effective search? I want to search really using the search, not the queue reform or report to clean all the data and then select one by one. And is there any intelligent system can correlate all these things together for me to take a look at that? I think that is what the business is trying to look for. So we're introducing a big data concept. Have anyone heard about big data? Big data is everything, right? Big data, including mobile network, and what we call unstructured data, mobile data, also the database data, like the transaction data. And how do we put this data together, and also helping you to identify your problem and some on the fly, not by trend. You may ask, what is on the fly and the trend? Trend is something you can use the business intelligence tools, data warehouse tool, you can predict some trend. But something on the fly is really happen suddenly. We don't have any signal of that because the information is coming through by different channels. As I said, that maybe from the documentation, maybe from your mobile device, web channel, or even the ERP system, production system, all these things. So what we call big data. Again, come back here. And how does the system can identify all these things for you? And what is the mechanism to prioritize all these things? By the occurrence of the data, by your priority of the business segment, the definition of the segment, or by the dollar value. All these things is the criteria you can tell the computer, or you can ask them to learn by himself, and then they will prioritize you. And what step I need to take to resolve and master the problem and prevent it happening again. I think that is what we call the terminology for the information discovery, using the big data technology. And from the architecture perspective, it is really to correlating like the ERP data, structured data, and unstructured data, all these things all together. And in the middle, we will have a data mining engine, some intelligence, to correlate all these things together based on your pattern, and we will learn. And what kind of information you most frequently use? What is the information is most frequently used by the others? What is the terminology? They are more correlate each other in the business area. Based on all these criteria, we will project you some what we call the common view. Based on the common view, then we can identify some very critical and important information. That area could be like financial, account receivable, asset, production, purchase order. You can define your domain, what we call domain. Okay? So it's going to help the information worker more easily to identify the business problem in a more proactive way, right? So I give you the different approach from is based on traditional one is we click on the menu, apply the query, bring the report and update. That is a traditional way. But the new way, information driven, we will try to use the measure, identify as I said that, then we solve the problem or we identify the problem and try to get the thing done. So I give you a very typical example like the asset management. When the way we look at a traditional asset management solution or system, I will have my asset hierarchy, how much asset I have with the organization, what is the cost, you're expecting something like this, right? But in a new way, you can see, I can search, for example, factory. And you can see a cloud tag at the middle. The cloud tag have a different font size. It means based on the priority, by the occurrence, or by your priority, or by the dollar sign. That will be automatically to create a bigger, font size to capture your site. Based on that site, you can see there are 3 different phases. Altogether, it's a bigger. They will try to correlate. So the maintenance supervisor or the director, I will see that factory and forklift is a main key user for my asset management. So then I can try to look into that and to take out the main key problem for that and what kind of report I need to proceed. All this correlated information will be popped up automatically on the side below. And also at the left-hand side, you can also see some categorization. We deploying some new technology like the guided search technology, like using the website, right? When you typing the keywords, it will automatically to pop up all the correlated things. So it is also another kind of the technology feature. So just give you an idea. How do we use the big data technology and also some data mining technology? together to create a new system, and in order to support it professionally. So it's very difficult. Another thing is what we call cloud, right? I forget. The colleague just told me this morning, Adobe has some security problem with cloud. Anyway, cloud is a trend. It has a very sexy factor to the business people because you can know what your infrastructure costs, your capital investment costs, everything can move to the operating expenses.